This is our next topic. So under this, you take down a question. The question is, describe the third order or life of cultivators in medieval Europe. So as we go through this topic, we come across a term known as cultivators. Now cultivators were the third order of the medieval Europe. Now because of these cultivators, the first two orders could sustain themselves in the society. And during this time, that means during medieval Europe, the cultivators were divided into two types. The first one is free peasants and the other one is the serfs. So now let us see what are free peasants. So free peasants are those farmers who don't have their own lands, but they are free to cultivate whatever they want or can move around and do any type of service that they want. Now for them, that means in order to serve anyone, they are paid. So here free peasants, now what happened is that since they need some areas for cultivation, now these people, they move around in search of land. So the Lord used to give them some land and ask them some kind of rent or charge them some kind of rent over the land or lands which are given. Now these men, that means the cultivators, they have to give or they had to give a minimum of 40 days a year to military service. They have to serve under this Lord as a military or as a soldier for 40 days. That is in a year. Now that is about the cultivator. But what about his family? Now the cultivator's family also had to work in Lord's estate. Now when you talk about Lord estates, means he may have a tea garden, he may have any plantation area where he is planting different types of crops or maybe fruits, whatever it is. Then whatever production they get it from this type of areas, that means from plantation areas where the cultivator's family is serving, all these products directly go to the Lord. In that they don't have any kind of share. That means the cultivator's family, they could not ask for a share saying that we worked here so we need something to take back home. Now besides this, now that means a cultivator, he does not only have to grow crops or cultivate crops or have to serve in the army. Besides these two jobs, the cultivator also have to do some unpaid services, labor services basically under the Lord. And these are like gathering firewoods, then digging some kind of holes or ditches, then building fences and repairing roads and buildings. Now these are the works which is done by the cultivator. Then the family also, the cultivator's family also have to help the cultivator in working, means any type of work that he is doing in the fields and all. But that is not enough. After working with the cultivator's family also have to serve under the Lord in order to make some candles, spin thread or to weave clothes, and also to help in pressing wine out of grapes. Then for all these services, whatever the cultivators or cultivators family have done, on that basis a direct tax is also imposed on them. That means, you see, they are working to earn, and from that only they have to pay some taxes, right? But on the other hand, we have the rich class, that is the first two class, that means the clergy and the nobility. They are rich enough, but they are not paying any kind of tax. That means they are exempted from paying taxes. These taxes which the cultivators used to pay is known as, or was known as, tally. So that is all about the free peasants. Now let us see what are serfs. Now serfs are totally opposite, that means totally different from the free peasants. Now here the serfs could not decide anything on his own. Whatever have to be done, whatever he has to do, that all depends on the order of the master. So the serfs also cultivate the main land of the lords, and whatever he cultivates, he have no share in it. whatever the production is, that directly goes to the owner, that means the Lord. Then for whatever he have done, means any kind of services that he do, either it is cutting, digging, or any services that he is providing to the Lord, he is not paid for that. That is known as forced labor, or we can say beggar, and for this no payment is given. Then these serfs are not allowed to leave the estate without the permission of the Lord. In case or in fact no permission is given to them, they cannot even leave. Now the serfs, they are serving under the Lord, and then they are not given any kind of monetary help, but the serf is given meal, 2-time meal. Now for this, the serf don't have to depend on the Lord, saying that the Lord will give me bread and I will eat it. No, that also you have to make. He can go to the area, that means the mill, where grinding is done, and in this mill is actually owned by the Lord. So in this mill he could grind as much flour he needs, okay, and after grinding he gets the flour. That flour he turn it into, or he can use it for making or baking bread and all. And after that he was also given freedom to press his own wine and use whatever he needs. That means in one way he is given freedom to make his own food, and then press his own wine and use whatever that belongs to the Lord. But he is not free to decide anything on his own. Only the thing that is there is, while eating he has his choice, right? Any type of job he cannot select. In fact, another thing is there, that the serf, if he has to marry, he cannot choose the girl that he wants. The Lord will select with whom the serf can marry, and then he also decides the right time to get married. He also decides the right girl to be married to, and then he also give them some kind of areas, we can say. That means the serf basically have no choice, and for this, whatever service he have done, he gets no freedom or no fee. Then that is the only difference between the free peasants and the serfs. But when we talk both, means when you take both the cases, in both cases the peasants are not happy. Means the serfs, they are also peasants. Only the thing that they become serfs because they are totally broken. That means financially they are very weak, and they were in need of many things. So in order to get all these things, they sign an agreement, and they start living with the Lord, and thus they become serf throughout their life. This is our next topic. So when you talk about this topic, we have to study what are the factors that affected the social and economic relations between the farmers or the peasants and the lords. So the first factor, as you can see, it is written like environment. So let's see what and how the environment affected in the relation between the farmers and the peasants. So let us take down a question first of all for this part. So you can take down, what was the effect of the environment of Europe on its agriculture from the 5th to the 10th centuries? So when you go through this part, we came to know that during this time, that means 5th to 10th centuries, most of the Europe was covered with forest. And not only forest, during this time it was quite cold, so the area for cultivation which is available was very limited, because one thing, it is a forest, other thing, it is covered with snow. So it was very difficult for the forest or for the farmer to cultivate any type of crops there. Overall, they have a very short sowing period or growing period. That means for them, cultivation period is very less. So looking at this condition, some of the farmers, they have to leave their place and move out to some other places, but within the Europe itself. So they, thinking that they may have a better place, they left the areas and they came towards some areas where they thought that cultivation will be easier, but they found that this is or that was a very wrong decision, because everywhere they've been, it was the same thing only. Like the climate, okay, the atmosphere or environment was intensely cold, and the period of this cold weather was quite lengthy. That means, once again, same thing, growing season for crops was reduced, and agriculture or whatever they could produce became very less or limited. Then came the 11th century. Now suddenly during the 11th century, Europe started to experience warm weather, and then the average temperature increased. As the average temperature increased, they could find that there is extension of the growing period. That means agriculture can be done, and the period for growing was not short, it is increased now. So the peasants came to know that yes, now they can grow, but the same problem they also face, the common problem. The common problem is the forest. They had a small area for cultivation, but other areas which was there, it was completely covered with forest. So what did the peasants do is that they start cutting the trees and all. And when they start cutting the trees and all, they could realize that they had a better area for cultivation. But this forest, whatever they had cut or whatever they fell down, these are all belonging to the Lord. So without his knowledge, they started to cultivate over these areas, and they started to expand their cultivating areas, or area under cultivation became more. So this was first factor that affected the relation. Indirectly, they have no idea what they have done to the farmers or what they have done to the Lord. Both of them, that means the Lord, he is also unaware that his area is being captured by some of the farmers, and they are cultivating them by cutting the forest. And the farmers also have no idea that they are in the region which belongs to one of the Lord. They thought it is just a forest, and they just cleared up the forest and started cultivating the crops that they wanted. For this, take down a question. What were agricultural related problems in Europe in the ancient ages or initial stages? Question mark. What was its effect on the life of people? So, agriculture related problems in Europe in the initial stage can be divided into two problems, or two types of things that we can share here. The first thing is that there was quite primitive agricultural technology. They used some technology which was available, but that was also quite primitive. They have only one mechanical aid which was available, and that was the wooden plow. And this wooden plow was drawn by a pair of oxen, and this plow was only able to scratch the earth's surface. It was not possible for the plow to dig deep and completely draw the natural productivity of the soil. Therefore, agriculture was very hard, and it required more and more people. So what happened was that after 4 years, fields had to be dug by hands, and if you have to dig it by hands, that means you need lots of labor. That is what happened. Since they have to dug it by hand after every 4 years, they required a huge manual labor. That was first problem regarding the soil. So the next point is that they use an ineffective method of crop rotation. And what is this ineffective use? Means what? Whatever style, whatever things that they are following that do not have any good result. Now first of all, what do is they divide the whole land into two parts, and then after dividing the land into two parts, they will grow in one half only wheat, and that is for the winters, and the second half will be just left like that. So the first year it's gone, that means the winter is past, and when they have harvesting period, they harvest that area, that means wheat is harvested. So next time if they need to plant, they will not use the same land where wheat was grown, they will use the land where nothing was grown, means which was left fallow. So next year they will use that one, and on that they will plant rye. Then rye was planted on this part of the land next year, and then the first half was left fallow. So you can see once they will use one half, and the next year they will use the other half. And this system, what happened, it really deteriorated the soil, means completely the soil died, or we can say the soil has got no fertility. Then frequently what happened was that since there was no proper food or no proper cultivation, they started to face some kind of famines. That means no food and all, right? Demand for the food was there, but they could not get proper food. So since there was no proper food, malnutrition started, and because of malnutrition, many people have to suffer death. That means they become slowly and slowly very weak, and at last they died. So this was one of the effect of the improper use of the land, and this was the problem, or these were the problem which was faced by the farmers in the initial stage. Then you can see the next paragraph, it's written despite this hardship. So for this paragraph you can also take down one question for this paragraph. So the paragraph's question is, how did agriculture related problems rise, mutual conflict between the lords and peasants? Under this we are going to study that how this fight between the relations, actually there was a conflict between the lord and the peasants. How? So this paragraph tells us what happened, that suddenly there were many conflicts between the lords and the peasants. So in spite of the agricultural related problems, the lords wanted to increase their income. So the lords, they are not even aware that what is going on with the farmers, right? So the farmers already suffered like poor crop, very bad cultivation, and they are suffering, they are becoming weak, they are dying. But for the lord, he never know what is going on. So what did he do is that, as it was not possible to increase agriculture production from the land, now lord forced the peasant to bring whole of the land in the manorial state under cultivation. So what he did is that he knows that the land has got nothing now, the land cannot be cultivated, and you cannot force the land to bring out good amount of crops. So what did he do is that he ordered the peasants that whatever land he have under his manorial estates, that should be cultivated, and they have to bring out some crops very well. That means they have to cultivate, the production should be good. So they were forced to bring under cultivation all the lands in the manorial estates. And if they have to do that, that means if the farmer have to bring, or if they have to cultivate manorial estates, means farmer will have no time to cultivate their own lands. The farmers have their own lands, and whatever they cultivate on their own lands, that goes to the farmer. But in case the farmer is being forced to cultivate lands which belongs to the manor or which belongs to the lord, that means whatever will be there, farmers will get nothing. It will directly go to the landlord or the lord. So that was one of the reason of conflict. So here that thing was going on now. The farmers, literally they found that this is very bad. Okay, now they are forced to do the service throughout the day in the manorial estates. So they are spending more time on their land than on the farmer's land. Now the peasants, they have to fight, and they could not just show their anger directly because they are very poor and they are not very strong. So they say that we have to fight, but how to fight, how to show that we are unhappy with the lord? So first of all, they stopped bowing down in front of him. They did not show any kind of, respect to him. And this respect means what? They don't bow down saying that good morning sir, good morning lord, nothing. They just did their work without even noticing the landlord. Then later on they find that this will not work. Slowly they stop coming to the manor's land or the lord's land, and they spend most of the time in the farmer's land, means their personal land. So when the farmer did not turn up, the lord was really angry. He wanted to know what is going on. So he went there and he looked. He said that he look all those farmers and said, what are you doing? Why not you turn to my estates and cultivate? The farmers did not answer. They kept on doing their own work without even noticing or talking to the landlord or the lord. Now they also avoided performing any type of extra work for which they are not paid, like collecting firewood or digging holes or making roads. They stopped doing all these things because the farmer came to know that this king or this lord is very oppressive. He only wants to earn money, but he's not thinking about farmers. He's not thinking about the citizen. So they started this type of protest indirectly. And because of this, there was another problem. That means the difference between the lord and the peasant started. Another thing that brought down the conflict or started the conflict was the use of pastures. Now pastures means the areas where animals go and graze. Now the king has got only horses and the farmer has got cattle. So the area where these animals go and graze, in those areas the farmer also started sending their cows for grazing. So looking at this, the lord got angry and said that this is not the land that belongs to the farmers, and how could their animals can come and graze? So they saw this land as resources to be used by the whole community. That means the farmers saw that this land, it's used by the king only for his horses, but for farmers they found that this is the best place for the cows or for the cattle, means their resources, and they send their cows. And at last what happened, they started to be questioned. The farmer, they send the cows to the field. The king started thinking that this is his private property, and how come the cows, cattle or other things came in his property? And thus the conflict between the lord and this peasant started. And this is the reason why there was lots of problem in the European area during the medieval period.